Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we have a bit of a special feature for you. This one's just for fun. By the good graces of the US distributor of the Czapek Cie brand, we have the Czapek Cie plus Vendome Tourbillon Suspendu, the company's first ever tourbillon watch. Now, the company was only re-established in 2011, and via crowdfunding, it was able to offer its first models in 2015. In 2017, yes, only 2 years after launching its first models, it launched this, a dual-time tourbillon, and an exquisite one at that. So let's talk about the ergonomics, the fit, the feel, and the details. On my wrist, it's a big watch, but it fits and sits quite nicely. 43.5 millimeters across the round of its platinum case. You can see that's not including the crown. The watch isn't particularly thick, but nor is it thin. 15.8 millimeters with a generously domed sapphire and a slightly sloped conical bezel. You should be able to fit it underneath a suit jacket cuff, but not the dress sleeve beneath. Perfect for a sport jacket or blazer, however. It has a raffish and modern sensibility about it. There are traditional elements to the materials, the decoration, and the engineering, but this is definitely a 21st century horological statement in the name of a 19th century horologist. The timepiece is not broad lug-to-lug. I would have to say 52.4 millimeters is more compact than I would anticipate for a watch with a diameter over 43, meaning you could probably wear this watch, thanks to its tight and relatively short cropped lugs, on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters in circumference. It would be secure and it would appear decently proportioned on a wrist of that size. On a larger wrist, well, quite frankly, I think this is the kind of watch, because of the strength of the statement it makes, that becomes stronger and stronger the larger the wrist wearing it. So while it has good ergonomics, this is definitely a competitor for the likes of the haut de gamme in the 43 plus range. Of course, what you get is remarkably distinctive here, and that's one of the reasons you go with an independent brand. You can see the case finish is contrasting with sharp but simple character lines. The strap is a remarkable leather that's multi-scale sized, gloss bolstered down the center, stitched with a folded edge. There is a supple grain on the underside as the calfskin takes over from the alligator leather. It is soft, but it is a remarkably meaty piece. It almost feels like an incredibly well done, artisanally crafted aftermarket strap, and that's by design. This watch has an anti-establishment air about it that continues in the strap itself. The buckle itself is a simple low profile but matching platinum affair, and that's something I always look for, a platinum buckle on a platinum watch. The case, once again, is quite simple. You can see that the lugs have been slightly concave in their form, such that they bow inward from the case band itself, and there is a small character line, a little bit of a cleft, that separates the body of the lug from the round of the case to add definition. It is a large metallic surface, but it's artfully handled. And as you can see, the actual polish is as good as Grand Seiko's Zaratsu finish. Optically smooth. You can see me in my camera glancing down at the watch. This is exceptional execution. I would actually say this is a level that I would consider black polish, but executed on a case. Now, the bezel does have a different finish for the sake of contrast, as do the lug hoods themselves, so while the case design is fairly simple, the finish is a highlight, quite literally. Now, the watch is mostly the movement. It's kind of like a Breguet La Tradition in that the movement itself is indistinguishable from the dial. But let's start with the dial proper. You can see the hands are highly stylized and blued, and they feature a fleur-de-lis flourish to remind you of the Place Vendome, where Czapek once had a shop in the 19th century, and the actual hour track is a Grand Faux enamel insert, so you can see you have Grand Faux enamel flanked by an ultra-modern sandblasted finish about the bridges, and that's evident on both sides of the caliber. The blasted finish is refreshing, but at the edge of every bridge you do have a very traditional mirror-polished and hand-laid anglage that is gorgeous to behold. You can see, and you can particularly appreciate when I turn flush to the camera, how much black polish or poly noir, the optically smooth, highest level of finish, is applied to this dial. You can see the bridges for the second time zone, as well as the tourbillon itself, and all screw heads. Subtleties abound. As you can see, different size screws are used to affix the blasted bridge for the dial, as well as the proper bridges of the movement itself. Now, there's also a lot going on in terms of information, as you have a day-night indicator that corresponds to the second time zone, a power reserve gauge just below the Czapek marquee at 12 o'clock, and then you've got the local time, or the time where you are currently. Now, if you want to adjust the reference time, there is a pusher adjuster that is seamlessly blended into the crown swell. I'm not going to call it a crown guard because it's not a sports watch. They're not guard. They're swells and shoulders. So the crown shoulder doubles as a pusher adjuster for the reference time zone. And of course, you've got your day-night distinction at 6 o'clock on its own black polished bridge. The power reserve traces a 60-hour reserve de marche. And of course, the manual wind caliber, which is indistinguishable from most of the dial on the obverse side, is glorified on the reverse side by an immense blasted set of bridges. The finish is really quite progressive, and this is where the watch is really a modern statement. Even if it does grant a nod to history, this is very much of the 21st century in style and sensibility. Now, it's a single mainspring barrel. The tourbillon carriage, and let's get a good view of it so you can see it squarely, beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, so it's a 3 Hertz beat rate, manual wound, 60-hour reserve. It is incredibly handsome, and it rewards close viewing. So you can see Tourbillon Suspendu here and there with the second time zone, and the caliber, which is the SXH2, was developed on behalf of Czapek by Chronode of Lelok. They have done exceptional work in the past from clients ranging from HYT to the Harry Winston Opus series, so they're exceptionally accomplished, and the movement design was in excellent hands. Now, finished to a high level, it goes without saying that this is the kind of watch that requires you to also invest in a very high-grade loop. You really need to put some money into optics for enjoying this movement up close, because as handsome as it is in a composed sense, it's even better when you get close to the beveled spokes of, for instance, the ratchet wheel on top of the barrel, or the graining of the crown wheel, or the polishing of the screw atop the click spring. It's beautiful. Everything about this movement is worth the money you pay. A sensational debut in the tourbillon category by a brand that was involved in crowdfunding optimism less than half a decade ago, an exceptional amount of progress, and it does justice to its august historic name. Perhaps a couple centuries hence, they'll talk about the revived Czapek Cie with the same air of reverence that we describe Czapek and his former business partner, Antoine Nodebert de Patek. A glorious execution, beautifully made. You can't see it or buy it on our website, but we know a guy who knows a guy, if you know what I mean.